What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today you need to grab your inside wireman agreement because it's another episode of Contract Talk. We're going to discuss just a few sections of Article 2. But before we get into that, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, drop a comment, share the video. You know what to do. Let's go. All right, Section 201. Article 2, Section 201. This is employer rights and union rights. Section 201, labor organization assistance. Section 201A, removal, union right. It's a right of removal. Says, this agreement does not deny the right of the union or its representatives to render assistance to other labor organizations by removal of workers from jobs when necessary and when the union or its proper representative decide to do so. But no removal shall take place until notice is first given to the employer involved. So right here in Section 201A, it discusses that the local has the right to pull employees off the job in solidarity or in support of other unions that may be walking off the job or maybe picketing outside or whatever. This is one of those do not cross the picket line type situations. And it says it right here in Article 2, Section 201, that we do have the right to pull our employees off of the job. The only thing is that we have to let the employer know before we do it. Section 201B talks about the union responsibility regarding removal. So when such removal takes place, the union or its representative shall direct the workers on such jobs to put away tools, material, equipment, or any other property of the employer carefully and safely. The union will be responsible financially for any loss to the employer caused by neglect in carrying out this provision, but only when a safe place for such storage is provided by the employer. So before you are walking off the job, if something happens and they're like, okay guys, let's get off this project, it's in our contract that you have a responsibility to lock everything up before you bounce. But it's interesting to note that we negotiated that into the agreement that we have the right to pull our workers. That's a good thing. All right, Section 202, annulment / subcontracting. Section 202A, violations of IBEW agreements. The local union is a part of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and any violation or annulment by an individual employer of the approved agreement of this or any other local union of the IBEW, other than violations of subsection 202B, will be sufficient cause for the cancellation of his agreement by the local union after a finding has been made by the international president of the union that such a violation or annulment has occurred. So that means that any employer who violates this contract or this agreement, the local union can petition the international to have them annulled or removed or whatever from the contract or the agreement. And it'll be done after the international president finds that such a violation has indeed occurred. Now, it said other than violations of Section 202B. So next is 202B. Let's take a look at what that says. It says assignment of work. The subletting, assigning, or transfer by an individual employer of any work in connection with electrical work to any person, firm, or corporation not recognizing the IBEW or one of its local unions as the collective bargaining representative of his employees, or any electrical work in the jurisdiction of this or any other local union to be performed at the site of the construction, alteration, painting, or repair of a building structure or other work will be deemed a material breach of this agreement. Now that is a lot of words to say that any electrical contractor or employer, as they call them, that is has signed a letter of assent to this agreement, who then hires or subs out the electrical work to a non-union or it would be a non-union contractor that does not recognize the IBEW as the bargaining agent for their employers is in breach of this contract and subject to having their contract annulled. All charges or violations of this subsection shall be considered as a dispute and shall be processed in accordance with the provisions of this agreement, covering the procedure for the handling of grievances and the final and binding resolution of disputes. So this would go be in front of the Labor Management Committee, and they would have to discuss the violation, and there would be a finding, and that would be that. Section 203, jurisdiction. The employer recognizes the IBEW as having jurisdiction over the installation, operation, maintenance, and repair of all electrical wiring and electrical equipment used in the construction, alteration, and repair of buildings, structures, bridges, street and highway work, tunnels, subways, shafts, dams, river and harbor work, airports, mines, all present and future electrical raceways for electrical conductors, wires and cables, and such other work as by custom has been performed by members of the IBEW when determined to be within the inside branch in accordance with the third paragraph of this section. So the IBEW has jurisdiction basically of all electrical work everywhere, as far as this contract is concerned, which is good. That's what we want. I mean, that's a lot. That's covering a lot of stuff. You're talking about the highways, the bridges, the streets, the subways, shafts, dams. That's a lot of stuff, man. Harbor work, airports, mines. It's a lot. That's good. All right, paragraph 2 of section 203 says, all electrical work as defined in the preceding paragraph and all equipment, tools, supports, materials, and temporary light and power work used to accomplish such electrical work shall be performed by workers covered by this agreement. Workers covered by this agreement shall do it all. That's important to note. The employer understands that the local union's jurisdiction, both trade and territorial, is not a subject for negotiations, but rather is determined solely within the IBEW by the international president, and therefore agrees to recognize and be bound by such determination. Better recognize. Section 204, better terms and conditions. This one's interesting and confusing. The union agrees that if during the life of this agreement it grants to any other employer in the electrical contracting industry on work covered by this agreement any better terms or conditions than those set forth in this agreement, such better terms or conditions shall be made available to the employer under this agreement, and the union shall immediately notify the employer of any such concessions. That is confusing as heck when you read it. The way I read it, it sounds like the local agrees that if they give better conditions to another contractor, then they will let other contractors know that those better conditions were made available, those concessions were made available. But I might be wrong, man. This is a very confusing, very long sentence. Let's try to read it again and see if that's what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like to me. The union agrees that if during the life of this agreement it grants to any other employer in the electrical contracting industry on work covered by this agreement any better terms or conditions than those set forth in this agreement, such better terms or conditions shall be made available to the employer under this agreement, and the union shall immediately notify the employer of any such concessions. That's what it sounds like to me, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm right. Section 204, read it in your joint and let me know what you think. Section 205, employer qualifications. Certain qualifications, knowledge, experience, and proof of financial responsibility are required of everyone desiring to be an employer in the electrical industry. Therefore, an employer who contracts for electrical work is a person, firm, or corporation having these qualifications and maintaining a permanent place of business, a suitable financial status to meet payroll requirements and to meet compensation requirements for injured workers and other insurance or protective requirements, and employing not fewer than one journeyman wireman continuously. So there's qualifications, there's knowledge, there's experience that's needed, there's proof of financial responsibility that's required in order to be an employer. And you got to prove it. And you have to keep at least one journeyman wireman employed year round. Section 206 talks about employee contracting. Employees covered by this agreement shall not contract for any electrical work except on behalf of their employer. I believe that's discussing side work. Do not contract side work. Employees covered by this agreement shall not contract for any electrical work except on behalf of their employer. That means you can't open up a business on the side and go seek work. That's what that means. You can't have a side hustle where you have company letterhead, a company truck, a business that you're doing electrical work with, and you're not under this agreement. That's how I read that. We'll pick up on the next contract talk with section 207. Article 2 is pretty long, so we're going to go bit by bit. I don't want to overwhelm myself or you if you're still here this long in the video. Anyway, my name's Eric. That's Contract Talk, and I hope you found this informative. Don't forget, the fight is not left and right. It is up and down, and it's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one, teach one, get out there and reach one. Peace.